The Galactic Council chamber was a cavern of light and shadow, where the air buzzed with the silent power of civilizations spanning galaxies. It was here, amidst the towering figures of alien diplomats, that humanity's fate would be whispered or bellowed. Sarah Lynn, Earth's ambassador, stood at the threshold, her heart a drumbeat of both fear and defiance. She had been chosen for her diplomatic prowess, her ability to read the room, to find compromise where none seemed possible. But today, she felt like a lamb among wolves. The Council's demand was simple, delivered by the Vralax, a species known for their ruthless efficiency and towering insectoid forms. All fledgling species must pay tribute, the Vralax hissed, its mandibles clicking with impatience. Resources, technology, obedience. Humanity will comply. Sarah looked into the multifaceted eyes of the Vralax, searching for any sign of negotiation, but found only the cold reflection of her own resolve. The tribute was not just a payment. It was an admission of subservience, a shackling of human potential to the whims of those who believed themselves the masters of the cosmos. Her mind raced through the options. Diplomacy had been her shield, her sword, but against this demand, it felt brittle, like glass under a hammer. She thought of Earth, of the dreams of space exploration turned into a nightmare of servitude. The decision was clear, yet fraught with peril. Compliance would spare Earth immediate destruction, but at the cost of its soul. Defiance would invite war, a war humanity was ill-prepared for, but it might also win them respect, or at least a chance to fight for their freedom. With a deep breath, Sarah decided. She would not bow to this demand. Her voice, when it came, was steady. Humanity will not pay tribute in the form you seek. We offer friendship, trade, mutual growth, or nothing at all. The chamber fell silent, the tension palpable. The Vralax's mandibles snapped in what could have been laughter or anger. "Then you choose the path of fools," it replied, its voice echoing the finality of the Council's judgment. As Sarah left the chamber, the weight of her decision pressed upon her. She had just declared war, not with words of peace, but with the silent promise of resistance. Back on Earth, she would need to convince the leaders, the military, and the people that this was the only way to preserve their dignity and future. The journey back to Earth was a blur of strategizing and sleepless nights. She drafted plans for guerrilla warfare, knowing that direct confrontation was suicide. She envisioned a network of resistance, using the vastness of space and human ingenuity as their greatest weapons. Landing back on Earth, she was met by the United Nations Assembly, a sea of anxious faces. Her report was concise, her resolve clear. "We face annihilation or subjugation. I propose we fight, not with the might of an army, but with the cunning of survivors." The assembly was divided. Some saw her plan as madness, others as the only path to true freedom. The debate raged, but Sarah knew the hard truth. This was no longer about choice, but survival. About ensuring humanity's place among the stars wasn't one of servitude, but of equals. As the meeting dissolved into chaos, Sarah felt the stirrings of a new era, one where humanity would either rise or fall, but never kneel. The intrigue of her gamble, the potential for betrayal or alliance, weaved around her like the threads of a new tapestry, one she was determined to shape. In the wake of Sarah Lynn's declaration, Earth was a maelstrom of preparation and fear. The United Nations, now the de facto War Council, buzzed with activity. The air was thick with the scent of strategy and the sharp tang of urgency. Sarah stood before the assembly, her demeanor calm, but her eyes betraying the storm within. "We cannot simply fortify our defenses," she argued, her voice cutting through the murmurs. "We must strike where they least expect, using every trick in the book. We are not just defending, we are proving our worth." General Marcus Holt, a grizzled veteran with more experience in human conflicts than alien ones, leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "And how do you propose we do that, Ambassador? We're outgunned, outmaneuvered by species that have been at this game for millennia." Sarah met his gaze, unyielding. "Guerrilla tactics, General. They expect us to cower or to fight head-on. We'll do neither. We'll make our solar system a labyrinth they'll regret entering." The room was silent, processing the audacity of her plan. Then, from the back, a voice broke the quiet. "And what of our people, Ms. Lin? Are we to tell them to prepare for war?" It was Dr. Elise Kwan, a scientist who had been advocating for peaceful integration into the galactic community. "Yes," Sarah replied, her voice softening. "But we'll also tell them we're fighting for our right to exist as equals, not subjects." A vote was called, and the decision was narrowly in favor of Sarah's strategy. The council dispersed, leaving Sarah with the monumental task of orchestrating humanity's defiance. In the days that followed, Earth transformed. Factories that once produced consumer goods now churned out weapons and ships designed for stealth and speed. Scientists like Dr. Kwan, initially skeptical, threw themselves into developing countermeasures against alien technology. Sarah, meanwhile, worked tirelessly, coordinating with military leaders, scientists, and even the underground networks that formed across human colonies. She met with Captain Liam Reyes, a pilot known for his daring maneuvers and skepticism of authority. "I need your best pilots, Captain," Sarah told him in a dimly lit hangar, the smell of engine oil and metal sharp in the air. "We're going to hit and run, make them chase shadows." Reyes smirked, though his eyes were serious. "You're asking for a suicide squad, then?" "I'm asking for heroes," Sarah countered. "You'll have the chance to outmaneuver an empire. Can you do that?" Reyes nodded, the weight of his decision settling. "We'll give them a dance they'll never forget." As preparations continued, whispers of dissent grew. Not everyone was ready for war or believed in Sarah's vision. The intrigue came from within. There were those who saw profit or peace in aligning with the aliens. Sarah learned of a faction, led by a shadowy figure known only as the Broker, who was willing to negotiate humanity's submission for personal gain. Confronting this betrayal was a challenge Sarah couldn't ignore. She arranged a clandestine meeting with an informant, a former associate who now worked in the shadows. "You're playing a dangerous game," the informant whispered, his face obscured by the dim light of a back alley. "The Broker has contacts, even on the council. They're planning something big, something that could end this resistance before it starts." "And you?" Sarah asked, her voice steady despite the chill of betrayal. "I believe in what you're doing," he said. "But be cautious. Trust no one fully." With this warning, Sarah's resolve hardened. She knew now that the battle would not just be fought in space, but in the hearts and minds of her people. The lines of loyalty were blurred, and every step could lead to triumph or treachery. As Earth prepared, the stars above seemed to watch indifferently, but beneath that vast, silent sky, humanity was learning to roar. The outer reaches of the solar system were an expanse of cold, silent beauty, where the light of distant stars barely pierced the darkness. Here, humanity had set the stage for the first act of their defiance. Sarah Lynn, aboard the covert command ship Shadow's Edge, monitored the fleet's readiness. Her heart was a drum, each beat a reminder of the stakes. "We've got movement," reported Lieutenant Mira Santos, her eyes glued to the sensor display. "Alien scouts entering the Kuiper Belt." Sarah nodded, her mind racing through the plan. "Signal the ambush teams. Let's give them a welcome they won't forget." The Shadow's Edge was but one cog in a complex machine. Across this dark frontier, human ships, disguised as asteroids or cloaked in the shadows of planets, waited. Captain Liam Reyes, leading a squadron of the most agile fighters humanity had, was poised for the first strike. "Remember," Sarah's voice came through the comms, calm like the eye of the storm. "We're not here to win a battle. We're here to send a message." Reyes grinned, his voice crackling with static. "Message received. Let's make some noise." As the alien scouts passed, their sensors dismissing the floating debris as natural, human ships sprang to life. Reyes's fighters, with a burst of speed, darted from their hiding spots, igniting the void with plasma fire. The ambush was swift, a flurry of human ingenuity against the might of the Galactic Council. "Targets down!" Reyes shouted, his voice a mix of triumph and adrenaline. But the victory was short-lived. The alien forces, underestimating human audacity, had not come alone. A larger ship, a cruiser, loomed on the edge of the sensor range. "Pull back!" Sarah commanded, her strategic mind already calculating the next move. "We've made our point. Let's not get greedy." The human ships scattered, but not before Reyes executed one last maneuver, leaving a minefield in their wake. The alien cruiser, in pursuit, met its doom in a silent explosion, a testament to human cunning. Back on Shadow's Edge, the crew celebrated, but Sarah's expression was one of troubled victory. "This won't be the last of them," she said, her gaze distant. "They'll come back with more force, and we need to be ready for that." The intrigue deepened as Sarah received a cryptic message from her informant. It read, "The broker plans to sell our positions. Be wary." Sarah's trust in anyone outside her immediate circle was now a luxury she couldn't afford. She summoned General Holt and Dr. Kwan for an emergency meeting. "We've got a leak," Sarah announced, her voice low and urgent. "Someone's feeding our positions to the aliens." Holt's face darkened. "You think it's one of us?" "I don't know who to trust anymore," Sarah admitted. "But we need to change our tactics, our communication methods. Everything." Dr. Kwan, always the voice of reason, suggested, "We could use the solar flares to mask our communications, make it harder for spies to intercept." They agreed, but the trust within their ranks was fraying. Sarah decided to keep the next operation's details known only to a select few, including a new addition, a young hacker named Alex Voss, whose skills in cybersecurity were unmatched. Their next move was to plant false information about a human stronghold on Europa, hoping to lure the aliens into a trap. Alex set to work, crafting a believable narrative, complete with fabricated sensor readings and communications. As the alien fleet approached Europa, expecting an easy victory, they were met instead by a fleet of drones, controlled remotely by Alex, turning the ice moon into a battlefield of human design. The aliens were caught off guard, their ships falling to the relentless assault of human technology. But amidst the chaos, a twist. One of the human ships, part of the decoy fleet, turned its guns on the others. The broker's betrayal was in action, but the ship was quickly neutralized by Reyes's squadron, who had been waiting for such an act. In the aftermath, Sarah confronted the reality of her war. "We've bought time, but at what cost?" she mused, looking out at the stars, each one a potential enemy or ally. The line between friend and foe was now a razor's edge, and every victory might just be the prelude to a greater challenge. The victory at Europa was Pyrrhic, the celebration brief. In the bowels of Shadow's Edge, Sarah Lynn gathered her closest allies. The air was thick with tension, the taste of betrayal still fresh.
"We need to root out this corruption,"
Sarah said, her voice firm but weary. "The broker's influence is spreading like a virus." General Holt, his face a map of concern, nodded. "We've got to assume there are more moles. This attack on our own was too coordinated." Dr. Kwan, usually the voice of optimism, was somber.
"We can use this. If we can turn the tables, make them think they're still in control while we work against them, we might just win this war." Sarah's eyes gleamed with a new strategy. "Alex, I need you to hack into the broker's communications. Find out who they're talking to, what they're planning."
Alex, young and eager to prove himself, nodded. "I'm on it, but we need to be quick. They'll know we're on to them." As Alex worked, the crew prepared for the next phase of their guerrilla warfare, but this time there was an undercurrent of suspicion among them. Could anyone truly be trusted? Sarah knew that trust was now a luxury they couldn't afford. Days later, Alex burst into the command room, his hair tousled, eyes wide with discovery. "I've got something. The broker's planning to hand over the coordinates of our main base on Mars. They're meeting an alien envoy in the asteroid belt." Sarah's decision was swift. "We'll ambush this meeting, but we'll also use it to our advantage. We'll feed them false coordinates, lead them into a trap." The plan was daring. They would stage a fake base on Mars, complete with dummy ships and decoy communications. The real base would be moved to a subterranean facility beneath the Tharsis region, hidden from prying eyes. As the alien envoy, escorted by a cloaked ship, approached the asteroid belt, they found not the broker, but Rhea's squadron, ready for combat. The ensuing battle was fierce, but the element of surprise was on humanity's side. The alien ship was disabled, its crew captured, revealing the broker's identity. None other than Colonel Marcus Holt's second-in-command, Captain Julia Vance. The revelation hit like a physical blow. Holt, confronted with Vance's treachery, was visibly shaken. "I trained her. I trusted her," he muttered, his voice breaking. Sarah, however, was more focused on the broader implications. "We've got their envoy. Let's use him to send a message back to their leaders. Tell them we're not just defending, we're counterattacking." The alien envoy, a being named Zalar, was surprisingly cooperative once he understood his position. "You humans are more cunning than our reports suggested," Zalar admitted, his voice a mix of respect and fear. "We fight for our right to exist, not just survive," Sarah responded, her tone leaving no room for doubt. "Tell your council there will be no tribute from humanity." With Zalar's message sent, Sarah turned her attention to the internal threat. Vance, now in custody, was interrogated. She revealed a network of sympathizers and spies within the human ranks, all motivated by fear, greed, or promises of power. The cleanup was harsh, but necessary. Loyalties were tested, and trust was rebuilt on the foundation of shared danger. Yet, even as they purged the betrayers, Sarah knew this was but one battle in a larger war. The twist came when a distress signal was received from a human colony on Ganymede. It was not an attack by aliens, but by human forces under the broker's command, now leaderless, but still operational. Sarah realized that the war was not just against external enemies, but against the shadows of human nature. "We're not just fighting for space," she declared to her crew, her voice resonating with resolve. "We're fighting for what it means to be human." As they set course for Ganymede, the stars seemed to watch, indifferent yet ever-present, as humanity waged a war for its soul among the cosmos. The journey to Ganymede was fraught with tension, each moment a breath held too long. Sarah Lynn stood on the bridge of Shadow's Edge, her eyes fixed on the icy moon below, now a battlefield where human fought human. The betrayal cut deeper than any alien weapon. "We need to secure that colony," Sarah said, her voice cutting through the silence. "But we do it with precision. We're not here to punish. We're here to save." Captain Liam Reyes, his face set with determination, piloted one of the lead ships. "We'll go in fast, hit their command center, and neutralize any resistance. Then we help the colonists." As they approached, the signs of conflict were stark against Ganymede's frost-bitten landscape. Human ships, once allies, now adorned with the broker's insignia, patrolled the skies. Sarah's plan was to use the element of surprise. They deployed a new technology developed by Dr. Kwan, stealth drones that could mimic the broker's communication signals, leading the enemy into thinking reinforcements were arriving. "Send the signal!" Sarah ordered, watching as the drones converged on the enemy ships. The ruse worked. The broker's forces, caught off guard, hesitated as friendly signals overwhelmed their sensors. It was the opening Reyes needed. His squadron descended like a storm, disabling the enemy ships with EMP bursts rather than destroying them, aiming to save lives on both sides. On the ground, Sarah led a team into the colony. The sight was heart-wrenching. Human against human, the colony in chaos. She found children hiding, families torn apart by the conflict. "We're here to stop this," she reassured a scared group of civilians. "We're all human here." The battle was fierce, but the tide turned when they reached the command center. There, they encountered Major Thomas Reed, once a respected officer, now leading the broker's forces on Ganymede.
"Sarah Lynn!"
Reed spat, his weapon aimed at her.
"You've brought this war to our doorstep."
"No, Thomas," Sarah countered, her voice steady despite the danger. "You chose this side when you decided to sell us out. Lay down your arms. This isn't what we're about." Reed's resolve wavered, his eyes darting to the chaos outside. "You don't understand. They promised us peace, under their terms." "Peace through submission isn't peace," Sarah replied, stepping closer. "We fight for our freedom, for our future." The standoff ended not with violence, but with Reed's surrender, his men following suit. The battle was over, but the scars it left were deep. As order was restored, Sarah addressed the colonists and the surrendered soldiers. "We are one species, one humanity. We've been divided, but we will heal. Today, we choose to fight not just against those who would oppress us from above, but against those who would betray us from within." The intrigue deepened when they found encrypted files in the command center, hinting at larger plans by the brokers' network. It wasn't just about selling out positions. There was an agenda to destabilize humanity from within, making them easier to control. "We need to crack these," Alex said, excitement and urgency in his voice. "There's more to this than we knew." Sarah nodded, the weight of her command heavier than ever. "We'll take this back to Earth. We need to understand the full scope before we strike again." Back in space, with Ganymede secured, Sarah looked out at the stars, pondering the next move. The victory was significant, but the war was far from over. The brokers' influence, like a cancer, had spread, and now they had a map to cut it out. As they set course for Earth, the message was clear. Humanity would stand united, or they would fall divided. The counterstrike was just beginning, and the galaxy would soon learn that humans were not just survivors, but fighters for their right to be free. The return to Earth was a race against time, the shadow's edge cutting through the void, its crew haunted by the revelations from Ganymede. Sarah Lynn knew that the broker's network was a hydra. Cut one head off, and another would rise. Yet, with the information they had, they could strike at the heart. In the war room, tension was palpable.
"We've decrypted part of the data," Alex announced, his fingers flying over the console. "There's a coordinated attack planned on key Earth defenses, orchestrated by broker loyalists." General Holt, his resolve hardened by betrayal, slammed his fist on the table. "We need to counter this! Now!" Sarah's mind raced. "We'll use this to our advantage. Let's set up traps, make them think they're hitting undefended targets. Meanwhile, we prepare our real defenses." The plan was set. Earth's orbit would become a graveyard for the traitors and any alien forces they summoned. But the real twist came when they learned the attack wasn't just physical, it was cyber, aiming to cripple Earth's infrastructure. Dr. Kwan took charge. "We'll need to fortify our networks, use the broker's own data against them, misdirect their cyber attacks." As the enemy forces began their assault, the solar system turned into a theater of war. Human ships, camouflaged among debris, ambushed the broker's fleet. In the digital realm, Alex and his team countered the cyber assault, turning viruses back onto their senders, causing chaos among the enemy's systems. The battle in space was a dance of death and light. Captain Reyes, leading the charge, felt the thrill of combat. "This is for all the betrayals," he muttered, his ship weaving through enemy fire to strike at their command ship. On Earth, Sarah watched as reports flooded in. "They're hitting harder than expected," she noted, her eyes scanning the tactical displays. Suddenly, alarms blared. An alien fleet, larger than anticipated, had entered the system, bypassing the outer defenses. The broker's plan had included an alien alliance, a twist that could spell doom for humanity if not countered swiftly. "We've got incoming," Reyes called through the comms, his voice tense. "They're big, Sarah. We need everything we've got." Sarah made the call. "All units, engage. Protect Earth at all costs. This is our home." The sky above Earth lit up with the fury of war. Human ships, despite being outmatched, fought with a ferocity born of desperation and defiance. Missiles streaked through the void, lasers painting the darkness with streaks of death. Amidst the chaos, an unexpected ally appeared. A faction of the alien race, possibly influenced by Zalar's message, joined the fray against their own kind. "We fight for freedom, just as you do," their leader communicated, a being named Rin. The tide turned. With this unexpected aid, human and rogue alien forces began to push back. But the victory was not without cost. Ships exploded into silent blossoms of fire, human lives snuffed out in the cold expanse of space. As the battle neared its climax, Sarah watched the alien command ship, a behemoth, make its final push towards Earth. "All energy to the cannons!" she ordered, knowing this might be humanity's last stand. The Shadow's edge unleashed everything it had, a beam of concentrated energy that struck true, piercing the heart of the alien ship. It was a Pyrrhic victory. Even as the ship disintegrated, the debris field was a testament to the ferocity of the fight.
But the battle wasn't over. The brokers' forces, still fighting, showed no signs of surrender. Sarah knew the siege of Sol was just beginning, but for now, they had bought time. Time to regroup, to plan, to ensure that humanity would not be extinguished. The aftermath of the siege was a scene of both triumph and mourning. Earth's orbit was a graveyard of shattered ships, a silent memorial to the battle's ferocity. Sarah Lynn stood at the command center, her eyes reflecting the cold light of distant stars, each one a witness to humanity's resilience. The brokers' network, though decimated, remained a shadow over humanity, their influence like a weed with roots too deep to fully uproot. Intrigue persisted as Sarah received reports of broker sympathizers still within Earth's military and government, weaving their schemes even as the main threat seemed quelled. With little time to grieve, Sarah strategized. The alien forces, though pushed back, were regrouping, their wrath now mixed with a grudging respect for human tenacity. The rogue alien faction, led by Rin, offered a temporary alliance, but trust was a fragile commodity in this war. The next battle would be Earth's last stand, a culmination of all the guerrilla warfare, the betrayals, and the sacrifices. The plan was to lure the remaining alien forces into a trap at the Lagrange point between Earth and the Moon, where human ingenuity had constructed a network of defense platforms, hidden among the debris of previous battles. As the alien fleet approached, drawn by false signals suggesting a weakened Earth, the tension was palpable. Every human ship, every platform, was poised for action. The silence before the storm was broken only by the hum of reactors and the soft beeps of tactical consoles. The attack began with the aliens believing they were facing a disorganized defense. But as they moved into the trap, the hidden platforms activated, revealing their deadly armament. The sky lit up with a barrage of missiles and energy beams, turning the space into a deadly ballet of destruction. Amidst the chaos, a betrayal unfolded. One of the human admirals, thought to be loyal, turned his fleet against the defenders, aiming to cripple Earth's last line. The sight of human ships firing on their own was a gut punch to morale, but Sarah, with her ever-present calm, had anticipated this. "Execute Plan Omega," she commanded, her voice barely above a whisper. Plan Omega was a desperate gambit. Human ships, rigged with explosives, were sent on suicide missions into the betrayer's fleet, sacrificing themselves to protect Earth. The action was heart-wrenching. Pilots knew it was their final flight, yet they flew with a purpose, their last act one of defiance. The battle turned into a maelstrom of fire and metal, with the alien forces now caught between two fronts. The rogue aliens, led by Rin, made the decisive move, attacking the main alien command ship, crippling it in a display of internal dissent within the alien ranks. As the alien flagship began to break apart, Sarah watched from the shadow's edge, her gaze locked on the fiery end of what could have been humanity's doom. But the victory was Pyrrhic. The cost in lives, in ships, was enormous. In the midst of this, another betrayal came to light. Alex, the young hacker, was found to have been feeding information to the broker's remnants, not out of malice, but from coercion, his family held captive. This revelation was a personal blow to Sarah, who had trusted him implicitly. With the battle winding down, the remnants of the alien fleet retreating, Sarah knew this was not the end, but a reprieve. The broker's influence, though weakened, was like a virus that could mutate. The seeds of betrayal were sown deep. As she looked upon the carnage, her resolve was unshaken. "We survive," she thought. but we must never forget the price of freedom. The last stand had been fought, but the war for humanity's soul was far from over. The battle scars of Sol were still fresh when Sarah Lynn gathered what remained of humanity's leadership in the wreckage of the United Nations Assembly Hall. The air was thick with the dust of war, but there was a palpable sense of relief, of victory hard won. Yet, beneath the surface, the undercurrents of betrayal and the broker's lingering influence whispered of unfinished business. "We've won this battle," Sarah began, her voice carrying the weight of countless lives lost. "But we know this war isn't over until we're free from all shackles, internal and external." General Holt, his face lined with both sorrow and resolve, nodded. "We need to root out the last of the broker's network. We can't afford another betrayal." Dr. Kwan, her eyes reflecting both the horror and the hope of the recent days, added, "And we need to ensure our allies among the aliens are secure. This could be the beginning of a new era." The plan was to use the momentum of their victory to strike at the remaining broker cells and to strengthen ties with Rin's faction. But first, they had to address the betrayal of Alex. Sarah met him in a cell, his eyes downcast, filled with regret. "Why, Alex?" Sarah asked, her tone more of disappointment than anger. "They had my family," he whispered, his voice breaking. "I thought I was protecting them, but I was only endangering everyone." Sarah's decision was swift. "You'll help us dismantle what's left of the broker's network. It's the only way to truly save your family." With Alex's cooperation, they uncovered a final plot. The broker's remnants planned to use a captured alien weapon, a doomsday device, against Earth's capital cities to destabilize the human government. The race was on to locate this weapon. Intelligence led them to an abandoned mining station on Ceres, where the broker's forces had regrouped. Sarah, with a small team including Reyes and Holt, set out, knowing this could be the last operation of the war. As they approached Ceres, the intrigue deepened. They were ambushed by broker loyalists, but with the aid of Rin's alien ships, they fought through, showcasing a unity that was once thought impossible. Inside the station, the tension was palpable. They found the weapon, a device of such destructive power it could end the human race. The broker's leader, revealed to be a high-ranking human official, Senator Evelyn Marsh, stood before it, her betrayal the final sting. "You think you've won, Sarah," Marsh hissed, her voice laced with venom. "You've only delayed the inevitable. Humanity needs to be controlled." Sarah's response was calm, yet fierce. "Humanity will be free, even if we have to fight for it every day." A standoff ensued, but it was Reyes who acted, disarming Marsh not with violence, but with words. "You're wrong, Senator. We've seen what freedom means, and we won't go back." The weapon was neutralized, but not without cost. In the chaos, Marsh managed to trigger a partial explosion, aiming to take Sarah with her. Sarah pushed Holt out of harm's way, but was caught in the blast. The aftermath was somber. Sarah Lynn, the architect of humanity's defiance, was dying. With her last breaths, she spoke to Holt. "Ensure our freedom is not just for now, but for generations. Let them know. We fought." Her death was a blow, but it galvanized humanity. Holt, now leading the charge, used the captured tech to send a message across the galaxy. "We are humanity. We stand free. We stand united. To those who seek peace and equality, welcome. To those who demand subjugation, know this: we will never bow again." The alien forces, seeing the resolve and the unity of humans and their rogue allies, chose diplomacy over further conflict. The Galactic Council, shaken by the events, reconsidered their approach, offering humanity a seat at the table, not as subjects, but as equals. Years later, at a memorial for Sarah, Holt spoke of the legacy she left. She showed us that humanity's strength is in its spirit, in its refusal to be anything less than free. Let her death remind us to live in that freedom, to protect it, to share it. The war was over, not just with humans winning the fight, but with humanity defining what it meant to be free among the stars. The legacy of defiance was not just in the battles fought, but in the peace built upon the ruins of war, a testament to the enduring spirit of Sarah Lynn and all who fought beside her.